What's good, Trucking Empire? Today's video is going to be about fuel prices. It's going to be about the goods, the bads. If you can get in the trucking industry right now, if it's a good time, if it's still profitable. I'm going to answer a lot of questions I get on a daily basis. Trucking is not always flowers. It's not always roses and a bunch of money coming in. It's not always amazing. It's not always sweet. There are tribulations. There are rough times. And YouTube, I feel like, not enough times is negatives put onto a screen for someone to actually see, some of the negatives without it being overplayed. So today we're going to get into it. I'm going to show you guys, not really show, but, tell you guys about my personal experiences, what I'm bringing in on a week, if it's still profitable, what my margins kind of look like, so you guys can, base your assumptions off of that. So let's get right into it. The number one question I always get, right, especially right now, is trucking still profitable as far as, box trucks, etc. Yes, it is, but the margins are getting slimmer by the day. Now, you can counteract this by getting higher prices from brokers, by not taking, the cheaper load just to get moving. Obviously, you don't want to sit for days at a time if there's, loads to choose from for $1.80, $1.90. But that $2 a mile mark is no longer the standard. That's no longer what you want to chase. Since the fuel has went up $1, I would say you want to go at least to, it's probably went up $2 now, but I would say you want to at least go for $2.25 a mile, if not more. And these brokers got to pay it, man. If they don't get their freight moved. The same thing for these shippers. I have a very good friend that is a broker, and he brings in, anywhere from $40 to $50 million a year gross from running his brokerage. And he's had issues getting shippers to pay more. But we had a very lengthy conversation. We had a conversation for around 2 hours one night, and he seems to think that, yes, trucking will fix itself. The rates will go up according to the fuel, but it's going to be a little bit of a delay. So that means, right now in this current week, last week, obviously fuel shot up, and the week before it started going up. But last week was my worst week for most of my trucks to date. But in the next week or two, the shippers should start realizing, okay, we're not moving freight. We need to go ahead and raise these prices up so that we can get this stuff moved, and it'll kind of, work itself out. But for the time being, it's kind of slim pickings, because it seemed like last week, fuel went up drastically, but the prices on freight didn't change, or they even went down a little bit, which, if my margin's getting slimmer, obviously I got to increase what's coming in. So right now, it is a good time to get into trucking. It just depends on your expertise. I would not come in as a brand new person this week or next week. I would give it, a week or two after that. Maybe in a month or so, everything will be kind of fixed. But if you do know what you're doing, or you do have a good dispatcher on your team, yes, you can get into the industry right now and still make good money. To give you some insight on what I make, I don't want to get into too many details, but per truck, I typically gross anywhere from $6,000 to $9,000 a week, 9 being on the well higher end. Right now, I'm doing, 5 to 6 to 7, because I'm being more picky on the loads I take. I'm not moving my truck for less than $225, $230 a mile, which you can get that pretty consistently right now. Last week, it was a weird week for freight, like I said. So with me making, let's just use $6,000 a week gross as a number to go off of here. With that $6,000, you're probably going to spend right now anywhere from $1,800 to, I'd say $1,500 to $2,200 a week in fuel if you go anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000 miles. It's unbelievable, but that'll bring you down to, I'd say, around 4,000 on the high end or the low end. And then out of that 4,000, you got to pay your truck if you're renting. You got to pay your insurance, which is going to leave you around $2,000 to $3,000 profit a week right now. Sometimes, $1,500, just depending if you're paying a driver, et cetera, et cetera. But on the flip side of that, this could be good for us all, right? So if the market goes up in price, they have to pay more for freight to be moved. They have to have it expedited. They have to have it moved. The industry shippers could start paying drastically more to cover this fuel for right now, and we could start making a lot more money. We could see, 8 to 10K weeks coming up. So, if you are joining the game and you don't have a dispatcher, you've never had any experience in trucking, I would say hold off for a little bit unless you can buy a truck and figure out some ways to increase your profit margins and lower your expenses. So if you can do a 6K week right now, you're still looking at, bringing in 1,500 to $3,000 profit, which is still a good mark. It's just not the margins that you want to see, right? And this is box truck specific. So, it costs even more to run semis, especially with fuel mileage and everything. But something that I want to reiterate to everyone, I have a lot of mentees that are getting ready to jump into the industry and everything. They have a good mentor, obviously, in me, or they have, I have people that have other mentors that aren't me that I still kind of guide, and everybody seems to be hesitant to jump in. But I want you guys to understand, you can still fire that boss, bro. You can still fire your boss, and you can jump onto the industry because at the end of the day, if you feel like the industry is going to crash or the industry is not profitable, you have to realize the entire United States runs off the transportation industry. If the transportation industry fails, the least of your worries is going to be having, a job or having a trucking company. If it fails completely, you're looking at the economy collapsing before it recovers. So you're going to be looking at trying to survive, real life. Like you're going to be looking at trying to survive and not get robbed or not get, overcome by the depression or whatever's going to come from that. So like I tell my guys all the time, don't be afraid to fire your boss and start your company. Just make sure you have enough funds put back for the hard times if you have a few bad weeks. But like I said, if the transportation industry crashes, then the entire economy collapses. So that's going to be the least of your worries if that does happen, if that does come. I don't believe it's going to come. It was a little scary for a little bit, but now that rates are starting to come up, and once they start coming up a lot more, everything will fix itself. It's just going to be products on the shelves are going to be more expensive. Like I said, it's not the best time to jump in the industry, but it's not a bad time. It's never a bad time to jump into trucking. Trucking is what the economy is based off of. Moving goods is got to be done. So one way or another, you got to get paid for it, and you got to make the margins work. Now, for you guys that are out there and you're operating trucks right now, all of my guys that I dispatch, shout out to Ty out there. He's killing it. Ty Shores Trucking. He's been informing me of different ways he's cut down on his expenses. So one of those ways being he drives 60 to 63 miles per hour. He has a 2022 F650 or F550, something like that, from budget. And he was getting around 8 or 9 miles per gallon. And right now he's getting 10 to 11 at, going 60 to 63 miles per hour. He's saving on his fuel. He showed me a way that he's, in the back of his truck. I'm not going to speak too much on that, but you can find ways to not get hotels. You can find ways to not eat so expensive. Obviously, you don't want to do that long term, but for the time being, to kind of increase your profit margins, you want to spend less during your operations. So those are some tips I have for you guys. Hopefully, I answered some of your questions. Yes, you can get into trucking right now and be profitable. Just make sure you have a mentor or someone to guide you, someone to dispatch you that's an expert or even, has an idea of what kind of rates to go for before moving your truck. Make sure you guys know your CPM. I have a video on cost per mile as well, so that you know what it takes to run your truck right now with these fuel prices, and you know what you need to get from brokers to be able to move that truck effectively and efficiently and profitably. So you guys want to make sure you're doing your due diligence out there. If you are coming to get into the game, make sure you study, make sure you get a mentor, make sure you have all your ducks in a row before you jump in and start having bad weeks back to back to back, because you don't want that. You don't want to come in and spend $4,000 to run your truck for the week, and then you've only made five grand total, so you're bringing in $600 and that's going to your house bills. So you want to make sure you're leaving enough room for profits, you're leaving enough room for error, have some money saved up, have someone that's got some expertise in the industry, some experience. They can guide you in the right direction and get you guys moving and keep you guys running a long, successful company that's going to go for 10 plus years, right? So thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys, support and watching my videos. We're almost at 6,000 subscribers. It's unbelievable to me. Mind blowing. I really appreciate you guys' support. I'm just a regular average Joe, trying to teach people about my experiences and where I'm going in my life. So thanks, guys. Peace.